When I was in middle school, Thursday nights on CBS at 9/8 Central were CSI crime scene investigation nights. Every week during the school year, my family gathered on the couch and watched gruesome scenes of murder, sex, drugs, torture, and intrigue, set on the Las Vegas Strip or the Miami beaches. CSI Miami, Monday nights on CBS. It was a time for bonding in wholesome 2003. In summer, the routine was disrupted. No school, no primetime television. I was always a bookworm, so when I turned 12 in June, I convinced my mom to drop me off at the Barnes & Noble in town while she went to work. It was a sweet setup. I made a stack of the books, or manga, that's Japanese comics, that I hadn't blown through, and replaced them on the shelf one by one, slurping a vanilla bean frappuccino the whole way. I wasn't the only kid, though I was the youngest and often the only girl who plopped on the floor or took a booth in the corner of the cafe. 14-year-old boys would silently sit on the opposite side of the aisle, minding their own. We kept out of each other's way. This is why it was unusual when one day I could sense someone down the aisle watching me. My gut told me not to look directly up at them. They were leaning against the shelf. That was all I could determine. That and how tall he was. I kept flipping pages, no longer actually reading, until I got to the end of the book, trying to look calm. Already at 12, I could fake ignorance when threatened. I replaced the book and moved to another aisle. The stranger moved as well. I pretended to slowly browse in the self-help section, then turned another corner. Still, there he was. The further from my original spot I moved, the more I felt sure of my fear. I zigzagged through the aisles purposefully and quickly. By the time I was on the other side of the store and he was still there, I knew that my instincts were right. I reasoned that the safest place was where the most witnesses were, and that was the packed cafe. He would not follow me there. I made a beeline for it, sat at an empty table in the middle, feeling safe in a crowd. The stranger sat down across from me. I couldn't not look at him anymore. Something seemed instinctively off about him. Between his looming body, gaunt face, thinning hair, and that intensity of his gaze, the middle-aged white man did not look like good news. He asked me my name. I said Sarah, a lie. He asked me where I went to school. I lied. He asked me several other questions, and I lied. He would never find me, but I kept him talking. I don't know what possessed me in my fear to think as rationally as this. Maybe my many nights of seeing detectives coolly sit across from sick criminals, but I wanted him to stay right where he was until I could figure this out. He next pulled a book out from under the table and asked if I knew what it was. It was a large, hardcover, full-page, glossy photo color book of Kama Sutra positions. It's actually really interesting about the philosophy of love. I'm a know-it-all tonight. All right. He must have pulled it off the relationship shelf while he stalked me. He started flipping through pages. We were surrounded by people, and no one noticed a man showing a kid full-page sex photos. He asked me if it looked like fun and if I'd like to try it. I lied. Yes. I wanted him to feel at ease. I knew what could happen if he got me out of the door or if he felt like he needed to fight or run. I said I was going to buy another Frappuccino. I'll be right back, so stay right there. He believed me and stayed. I waited patiently for the 4 people ahead of me to order. More people queued up behind me. At the counter, a college-age boy asked me what I wanted to order. I told him what was happening and asked for help. I could tell they did not cover this in training by the look on his face. What? Still, he told me to wait by the door that led to behind the bar, and he went to the phone to telephone a manager. My rescue and the stranger's arrest were well underway. My adrenaline had been racing, and now that I felt safe, finally, and I got dizzy with relief. But then a woman who had overheard us started to scream at the stranger, making a huge scene on my behalf. Exactly what I did not want. She worked at the county jail and saw scum like him every day. She could not wait to see him locked up with the rest of them for preying upon the innocent. He bolted right out of the glass doors. Gone! The store called the police, but it was too late. The woman could not control her fury nearly as well as I'd controlled my fear. The staff kept me behind the register while they called my mom, and I overheard the woman speaking about the stranger, that he had been in the store before and never had been arrested. Why couldn't any of these grown people keep a man restrained until the police could come? The police arrived and asked for a statement. My mom came soon after, freaking out. A cop picked someone up off the street and asked me to identify him. He looked nothing like the stranger except for being white and middle-aged. They let him go, and that was the end of it. I wasn't allowed to go anywhere unsupervised for quite some time. It was years before we went back to the Barnes & Noble. But when school started and prime time returned, our routine came back with it. I still don't know how I maintained the control that I did. Maybe, if it weren't for the actual criminal justice system employee, my plan would have worked and a predator would be in jail. At least, thanks to the calm demeanor and intuition that I had learned from Dr. Gil Grissom on CSI every week, I was not kidnapped and did not die. P.S. If you're wondering why it wasn't Law & Order SVU that prepared me, it aired after my bedtime because I was 12. Thanks for nothing, NBC. Nothing but cocksuckers!